Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about you. I love it. I love it so much. And really, today's episode is going to be all about you, David.
It's going to be about you or me? Me?
Yeah.
Not me.
It's going to be about you.
You.
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
Ted. I don't think any of our older audience will understand it, but there's a whole contingent of younger people out there, right? And I will say this, that do you know what Soulja Boy's favorite type of wood is? You. Okay, that's, you probably don't understand it, but I'm a high school teacher, and I'm telling you that joke is still funny. Except I usually say because I teach chemistry, I'll say, what is Soulja Boy's favorite element? And I'll say because it's uranium, right? So, and anyways, I'm sure there's people out there that are listening that understand that, but let's get off the topic of you and get on the topic of how people can stay in touch with us. We do have the blog. Matt over at the blog has cardtalk2018.com locked down and doing reviews and making sure that he's got everything, keeping up with what we do here at the blog or at the pod. Make sure I say it right? So, we do have our YouTube channel. We do have our podcast feed, but check out Matt over at the blog. We have Micah doing Second Breakfast. He does playthroughs for us and posts those every couple of weeks. I may have to pressure him to go back to doing them live because that's more fun. People want to see live stuff, but he does a good job up there and out in the middle of nowhere, Canada, doing what he does. But I give him a little slack because he also designed our swag, which should be arriving. If it hasn't already, we should be getting it very, very shortly. So, Micah, thank you so much for that. And that's going to be distributed very shortly to all our Patreons that have been a patron at the $5 level since April. And so keep your eye out for that and an announcement on that and what it exactly is. Inspired by Con of the Rings this year, something that I haven't seen in the community, but something that I think people will love and appreciate, I hope, about the game. Even if you don't love and appreciate it, lie to us and tell us how awesome it is, because that's what we need. And so if you want to get involved, help us keep the lights on here at the pod. Our Patreon is open, patreon.com/cardtalk2018. And Ted, I'm going to throw it over to you, and you can talk about what our card is for this week.
So today's card is, as some of the savvy folks might have guessed, is Bow of You. It's from the Arid Myth and Hero expansion.
Is it the Bow of Me?
Yeah, it's the Bow of You, exactly.
It's the Bow of Me.
Bow of You spelled Y-E-W as the wood.
Yeah. As in the wood, okay.
It is a 0 cost tactics attachment. It is item and weapon. It reads, attached to a Dale or warrior character. It's restricted. It has the response, after attached character is declared as an attacker, exhaust Bow of You to deal 1 damage to the defending enemy.
So this is actually the bow of the Gondorian spearman. Except it's attacking, not defending.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I wonder if the bow is actually made of uranium. That's really, as a chemistry teacher, that's really what I want to know. If it's disguised, if it's like some post-apocalyptic bow made of uranium and they needed to disguise what it was made of. So they were like, let's call it the bow of you, but it's really the bow of uranium and not the bow of this wood named you. You think that's what happened?
That's wow. Shocking that you know that.
That's a deep cut right there. I say all that because I joke around a little bit because, like, I've used this. Like, it helps me get to my 3 hunters. It helps me, put damage onto an enemy. How many times on this show have we said, sometimes you're just looking for one more at some point, and this gives you that one more. Yeah. But I find that, this is not the weapon that I'm reaching for outside of a Dale deck or outside of a direct damage deck. Like, this just doesn't make it into that. It would be good on there. I mean, there's some places where it would be good on. Has to go on a Dale or a warrior character. So, like, it's. I have to look it up, but I don't think Haldir is a warrior.
Hero. I think
Hero Haldir.
I think the ally one is just Sylvan, and he's Ranger. The hero one is Ranger.
Right. So, like, you're not going to put this on Haldir, even though he's going to be attacking all the time, right? And he's a Sylvan Ranger Scout, is what he is. And then. Done here from the core set. I don't know if he's a warrior. He may be a warrior. I'm thinking of all the people that are just going to be attacking all the time.
Yeah.
Amer. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's 0, so it helps you fulfill the contract a little bit better when you're playing 3 hunters. It's 0 cost if you're looking for a little bit of oomph at the beginning. I don't know. So I'm not in love with this card, but Ted, change my opinion.
Well, it's 0 cost, and this card's can be kind of a toss-up, and I think it's worth the value. Dune here is warrior.
It's worth
FYI.
the value. It's worth nothing. Okay.
It's actually interesting that you brought up Dune here. I've never used that application of it, but it would actually work very well for him because he could attack into the staging area. Right. And he gets +1, and then he would do the additional damage. So it's actually, I think, a pretty good card for him.
Yeah, if you're not going to use the Spear of the Citadel, like,
well, it's in the
right. You want to have options, right? Like, so this is another
that whatever the Rohan spear is that I forgot the name of that spear, but so yeah, it's
Spear of the
0
Mark.
cost.
It's Spear of the Mark. That's what I was. Yeah, I said Spear of the Citadel. That's different. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's restricted, so it definitely fits into the Dale archetype very, very well because it's a 0 cost item. So if you're playing Bard and you're playing Brand, you can Bard can play it without. I'm mixing two up. Brand, Bard can play it without a resource match because he'll be printed tactics, and then when you do play it with Brand, you get to give a Dale character +1 willpower and then draw a card. So +1 willpower, do an extra damage, draw a card for 0 is okay.
I mean, that's really good in the Dale deck. That's
quite strong.
That's great.
So really, really fits in a Dale, and of course you're going to have Dale heroes, so you have targets for it immediately when you draw it. Especially Brand. Brand is 3 attack already, so now he does an extra damage. Like, that's strong.
Right.
It's like right off the bat. It does help in 3 hunters, like you said, because the fact that it's 0 cost. 3 hunters lets you reduce your first item you play by 1. So you want to play an item that isn't this to get the reduction, and then if you have a tactics hero, you play this as your second card,
right? For
free because it costs 0. So that also is helpful there. And yeah, the biggest downside is that you do have to exhaust it. So if you have a hero who attacks multiple times, they can't take full advantage of it like they can a regular weapon, like a dagger of Westerness.
Right.
So like I have a tactics. I play tactics Aragorn a lot. And a lot of times he gets unexpected courage or he gets a Rohan Warhorse and he's like attacking multiple times. And this is not as useful.
Right.
On him.
And it also doesn't, because you get the choice to exhaust it to do the damage or not. Like if you exhaust to do damage, it won't trigger a foe hammer. Like it doesn't do those things that sometimes you want weapons to do. I think there's a couple other things that you have to exhaust a weapon in order to do these things. So
yeah, you cannot exhaust it for foe hammer, goblin cleaver, or I guess sterner than steel also requires a weapon or armor exhaust.
There's probably a couple other ones,
But
I mean, unless you decide not to use the extra hip, like this is one of those things where decision is built into the game. Like, hey, is that one damage going to help me now? And then I don't get to draw 3 cards because of foe hammer, or do I save it, draw the 3 card? Any card that builds decision into the game is good by my book. Maybe not from a, I'm going to play it all the time, but that's what you're doing. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it being exhausted because it does cost 0 and it can go onto characters. It doesn't just have to go on heroes, although there's restrictions, so it can go in a variety of places, but I don't love this card despite all of that. I'm sure you were going to say something else and I cut you off because that's what I do.
No, we all know the format. David complains about a card and I try to convince him otherwise.
Yeah.
That's what the show kind of always has been. Yeah. Really, since I first. Really, that's how the dynamic started, right? Because I came on to talk about change your mind about Gandalf.
Right. Yeah.
But I was trying to think of a few other really great targets. So Galadhorn Archer, it can go on, who's a Sylvan warrior and is ranged, right? So now she gets an extra attack. Who was another good target?
Well, I mean, this goes into your Imrahil deck, right? Like the one that brings warriors out and,
Yeah, you are running typically warriors in a Tactics Prince Imrahil deck, so absolutely. It can go on the other archer. Marksman of Lorien is also a really great target. Again, Silverbeard, not a bad choice because he already attacks for 3, and you want him killing stuff to trigger his ability. It could even go on Grant's favorite hero, Grimbeorn the Old.
Grimbeorn the Old.
And
which is where I have been putting it lately. I've been trying to get Bow of You on to Grimbeorn, but I find that I don't typically trigger it often.
It was kind of designed to work really well with the Warrior of Dale, since we mentioned Dale and allies. So Warrior of Dale also comes in the hero of Mithrin expansion pack. You reduce weapons played on him by 1, so you don't really get that benefit there. But when he has a weapon, he gets +1 attack and ranged, and his base is 2. So now he swings for 3 ranged and does the bow damage.
Right. So that's his bow, pretty much, right?
Yeah. Ally Legolas can wield a wide array of items. Good on him because he wants to kill stuff for you to draw cards.
How about Hero Legolas? Is Hero Legolas a warrior?
Is also warrior. Yeah, is noble Sylvan warrior. So
both
Sylvans
heroes
have, I think, better weapon choices being Sylvan. Same with the ally version. But it's not bad. It's not a bad choice. And the cool thing is about 0 cost items is if I have to lose it to like a shadow card or a treachery, I don't feel as bad.
I'm not brokenhearted about it.
Yeah. If you have to, discard an attachment you control, I paid 0 for it, so that sucks. Still sucks, but better than losing, a shield or a Steward of Gondor or something else that's like really critical.
And playing multiplayer, there's more of a chance that somebody at the table can use it too, right? Like if you're playing 3-player, there's 9 heroes each with their own decks, and so there's,
a lot of targets.
There could be a lot of targets. It doesn't have to be, but there's more of a chance that this thing is useful, This,
Yeah.
when you're building a deck playing solo, this has to be an intentional include, like it has to be, okay, I need the restricted, I need the weapon, I need whatever, maybe I'm playing Open the Armory and I want to make sure Open the Armory hits, so I need to make sure that there's a weapon on the top, 10 cards. And so, I need just a few more weapons to make this work. This isn't a horrible include, but I just don't love it.
Yeah. No, I understand. For the, like I said, there's other, if you're putting it on a Dale or warrior character, like it's good for most of those heroes and allies. Sometimes they have better traits. Like elves and dwarves kind of have their own set of weapons, which are better, I think, overall. Like the dwarven, even the dwarven axe or the core set, it costs 2, but it's just +2 attack to a dwarf all the time, and that's just consistent. I was trying to think of there's a couple of instances too where doing like a single point of damage can sometimes be beneficial, but
usually it's on the defense though. Like you can get rid of something more times than I can count. I've gotten rid of an enemy because I've defended it with the Gondorian Spearman, and it doesn't do anything because the Gondorian Spearman immediately does a damage and then it dies, and then like you don't trigger the shadow card, you don't do any of that. But because you have to wait for its attack, like that's a little less. At the very least, it's not restricted to being a combat action or a response, or whatever, like
That's
you can
true.
do it, when it's anytime you get attacked or anytime you are attacking.
Yeah, so it does play well with, like I said, Dune here. I guess to the same extent, it could work on leadership Aomir. Because he's the one who pays a resource to attack into the staging area.
Yep.
And he is warrior traded. So it's got some places, and the thing is, you can still use it as a weapon to trigger foe hammer if you don't need the extra damage.
Right.
You can still count on it for triggering those cards. You just don't get the damage that turn, and it may line up where you don't need it too.
Yeah, I mean it's and then you wonder why you played it to begin with if you're not actually using it. I mean, like,
well, it's yes, but it's just sometimes that one extra.
There's that one extra.
It depends on the quest, and enemies have different enemies have different hit points. Some have 4 and some are 5, and you're not always getting the 5. Sometimes you get the 4s.
I've found like done here you have to attack alone, and like if you do like hands upon the bow, you need to have a range character, but the hands upon the bow gives you an extra +1, and then if this is on there, now you can do an extra damage, and you're attacking alone with hands upon the bow, and you're doing it out of phase. So like having that extra point available to you can be beneficial at times. Is it game changing? Not usually, but I think that these are the kinds of things that you want to have when you're doing that. I like hands upon the bow. Hands upon the bow is a great event, and then if you can boost, however you can boost the thing that you're handsing upon the bow, then good.
Hands upon the bow of you.
Yeah, hands upon the bow of you. Right? Are you handing you? Hands upon
hands
you.
On you.
Hands upon the you.
Hands on you.
Okay, before we get into that, should we talk about the art of this guy, or do you have anything more to say?
I have other things to talk about on this card than the card itself.
Okay,
so let's jump into that.
Okay.
What would you like to say about the art? Because it might be the thing that I'm going to say.
Well, I mean, it looks like you. I mean, the wood. It looks like you.
Oh, the wood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, see. No, I mean, the art itself, it's...
Does the character... What do you think of the man holding the bow?
Now I got it.
Does it remind you of anyone or anything? I get a Liam Neeson vibe.
Oh, really?
I 100%. This is... There are a handful of cards in the game that look like or resemble
people.
People
like Ally. ally Elrond looks like Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal. There's the who's the elf that lets you search the Stargazer?
Yeah,
Looks a little bit like Scarlett
Johansson,
Johansson, and
right.
both of you has got kind of a Liam Neeson vibe. Like, I have a particular set of skills using a bow.
Did you know he retired from making action movies?
I will hunt you down
Yeah,
and do damage when I attack you. Like, that's
not quite
what I'm
Liam
doing when I'm
Neeson.
playing
That's
it.
more like something else. Like, I will do an attack. I will. That's like creepy, weird guy. That's not Liam Neeson.
It's been a little bit of Taken, but that's sad. He did
I know.
Great such action movies.
Yeah.
So
He's doing other movies, but he's retiring from doing action movies. 72 years old. So
that's fair.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that this is Qui-Gon shooting an arrow, a force arrow at made of uranium. But was made
doing a point of damage. So.
Right. Hey, that's how it's doing its damage. It's made of uranium. It's radioactive.
Dale, Liam Neeson shooting us both of you. Let's talk about the flavor text. Okay. So the flavor text reads, "They would shoot at us," like, quote, "they would shoot at us with their great bows of yew," unquote. And then it's attributed to the Lord of the Eagles from The Hobbit.
Right.
So I'm assuming, now it's been a while since I read The Hobbit, well, at least the last time I read it. So Lord of Eagles, that's got to be Gwahir.
Right.
Right? But like, why is it attributed to the Lord of the Eagles? Like, I'm trying to remember in the book. Like, did they not say his name?
They may not have said his name. Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe he didn't introduce his name. He said this first. And then I don't remember the context of this at all from the book. And clearly it happened.
Right. But it also
really
may not have been like the Dale people. It could have been the orcs, shooting.
Like, that's what I'm trying to remember. Is like, who, like, when did this come up?
The Eagles came in a couple
why
of
is he
times,
describing
right?
it, and who is he talking about? Like, I'm really confused. Because I don't remember the context at all, and I've read The Hobbit a couple times.
Sure.
Do not remember this quote from it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this.
But
you know who does? Liam Neeson.
Yeah,
he's got a certain set of skills.
This
is taken from The Hobbit.
It's anyone wants to lure us up and let me know if they can find the quote and be like, oh, it's on page this, and he's talking about
we need to have the context around it. That's really what we're looking for. Like, why is this?
I'm like, wait, with the he could have been talking about the people from Dale. But I'm like, but I just don't remember. Like, okay, they were shooting at the Eagles. Like, I don't remember that. Like, how come I don't remember this? Like, very important thing.
Right. And the Eagles they were part of it. They, rescued the dwarves and Gandalf from the burning trees when they got out of, got out of the Goblin Town, and then they made another appearance at the Battle of Five Armies and stuff. In the movies they drop Beorn, right? The Eagles drop Beorn into the battle, but whatever. So like there's some basis for this, but I agree, I don't get where any of this is a thing. Are you on your Tolkien database?
Maybe like AI can tell me like what page it's on or something. I need like a tool where you can like look up book quotes and it tells you where to find it.
You know who knows all these things?
Grant, and he's not here.
Well, Grant, but there's also Eric Schell from Cardboard of the Rings now. Like, he's been doing Cardboard of the Rings for a while. He was a guest on our show a couple of times, but he went through and highlighted all the flavor text of all the cards in the game. So, like, he's got I don't know if it's digital or if it's real, but he's got like a copy of all of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that's got highlighted flavor text in it, so that when they use cards for Alep, they're not using the same flavor text.
All right. I found it.
Okay, give it to me.
I found it according to Gemini.
Okay.
Googly Eye says, this quote is from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. It refers to a scene where the dwarves and Bilbo are being attacked by orcs. While traveling through Mirkwood, the orcs are armed with bows made of yew, which were known for their strength and accuracy.
Oh. Yeah, the orcs needed all the help they could get.
But it's still like, okay, I guess, so like Gwahir said this, and it's a scene that the dwarf, like,
Right.
Anyway, I don't know, but okay, there's some, okay, that makes more sense though. You were right. You're like, maybe so I guess the orcs had these bows of yew. Maybe they stole it from
Maybe
Dale.
that's Liam Neeson, the orc. Maybe Liam Neeson knows the black speech.
Okay, there we go. Well, that makes a little bit more. I feel a little more at peace. I won't have to be stuck on it for the rest of the day. So.
Yeah. Now you're not going to be.
But there you have it. Bow of yew.
Should we ring this thing?
Let's ring it up. How much? Let's find out how much it cost.
Yeah, it's going to cost a lot in my book. Anyways, for anybody who doesn't know, maybe you're new to the show, or maybe just have forgotten. I don't know, but we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rank a card on a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is the one card to rule them all, or one of the best cards in the game, and a 10 is the card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it came, or one of the worst cards in the game. Ted, you went first last time, so I will get you off the hook here this time, and I will go first. And, I think that this card would be more fun if it was actually the Bow of Uranium and not the Bow of Yew. Like I said, I think it's mainly an afterthought when I need a weapon, especially when I'm building solo. I have to be more intentional about building my deck than just including a card like this. I have included it in a solo direct damage deck, but it's really hard to make a solo direct damage deck that actually works because you need to do everything in a solo deck anyways. So, not to say that there aren't some corner case, niche cases where this is going to help, but I named a couple that I like to use this with, Hands Upon the Bow and, Done Here and things like that. But it's just not the thing that I am going to, it's just not a card that I include. I'm going to give this card an 8. Ted?
Yeah, so it's got a lot of strengths. It costs 0.
It does.
But I'm still going to give it, probably like a 6. Because I think it's, for it being 0, I still think it goes a pretty long way that I'm ultimately happy with. And I do tend to use it. I do for 0 cost. So, yeah, that's what I'll give it. Give it a 6. Give it a try. Play it in Dale. It's really, really strong in Dale, like we mentioned. But don't be afraid again to try it out in some other decks. So,
okie doke. Well, there you have it. Liam Neeson shooting his highly accurate bow of yew. Okay, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.